Hi, this is Tomislav from Defiant, and you're listening to Metal Detector.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to Metal Detector. Today we're speaking with Tomislav Kuternik, vocalist from Defiant. This band has built a reputation for their powerful sound, sharp riffs, uncompromising spirit in the underworld scene. With the latest work pushing the boundaries even further, we're going to dive into the band's journey, creative vision, what's going next, and whatever happens in the way. Tomislav, it's an honor to have you here
Yes,
with us today.
thank you.
What
Thank you.
Let's go straight forward with the questions. And how is the metal scene different when you perform abroad compared to at home?
Well, the last couple of years, actually, the scene in Croatia became a bit, I'll say, better in a way. But again, a lot of abroad countries like Serbia, Romania, even Hungary at like last few years is getting better. So I think the Croatian scene is as strong as like the Eastern European folks, you know. But I mean, you can actually see it from like maybe study in sociology, you know. But I think every country that we played in has its own ups and downs, you know, especially when you're playing in your local scene. I think it's bit more pressure because the guys knew you, you know. There's very little mystery. When you play in Romania, when you're playing in a foreign country, I mean, that, I think that every band knows this. When you play somewhere else, you're mysterious. You know, they don't know you, and you're playing a bit of a role in there as a vocalist, as a guitarist, you know. So sometimes when you play in Romania, some people get scared of you because you're that guy from, you know, for screaming and, you know, you're from that band, you know. So when you play a local scene, you know, your friends are in the audience and they're yelling at some stupid shit, you know. So it can be a bit funny, but, you know, it's an ups and downs, you know, and like they say, it's part of the gig, you know.
Tell me, before Defiant, you were part of other projects like Rainkaos, Voidhammer, Chemical Exposure. Um,
Yes.
how did those experiences shape the musician you are today?
Well, all those three bands and Methusalem as well. I played in Methusalem for like a not a full year. I pretty much recorded one album with them, and half of the band split off because the bass player was an asshole. But every band, I mean, Rainkaos formed like in 2006, 2007, or around that. So I was like 16, and we made every mistake possible in the book, every mistake possible, and that split up and became when I went to college, I joined Voidhammer, and after college, I joined Game Exposure. Well, every band was a learning lesson. You know, every band was a learning lesson what to do, what not to do. You know, how to behave as a vocalist, how to behave as a frontman per se, and you know, stuff like that. You know, every step was like a learning experience. You know, and yeah, I was happy to be in all those bad. Nevertheless, the circumstances and all the hiccups and problems and, you know, the human factor. I mean, that was the biggest learning experience, how to deal with people, because a lot of people forget uh, sometimes you know your band members better than their wives, you know, because you're traveling together. You know, you have like 5 or 6 hour drive, you know, from point A to point B to the next gig, you know, and sometimes you know how your drummer farts, pretty much. You know exactly how your drummer smells. You know, it's pretty much like a marriage light version, you know. So to find, I mean, the biggest learning experience is how to deal with people. You know, it's not just playing good. It's actually how to deal with people and how to deal with a lot of circumstances and a lot of difficulties, you know. So it's all learning. I'm still learning actually. So
Yeah, we're still.
maybe on the 6th band I will learn my shit. Who knows?
All right. You joined Defiant in 2017, right at a
Yes.
point for the band sound that was like switching. How was that main vision when you first became part of the group?
Uh, well, actually, my first gigs were with Defiant were in actually 2016. We did two festivals in Romania. Well, the band actually had pretty much a formula of what to do. That was during their More Spiritual Illness album. That was their third album, which they switched up gears a bit, abandoned their melodic, technical death metal. It became more of a straightforward death metal. But I think on every album, Defiant sounds a bit different. Well, it was just that timing that Chris and I, the leader of the band, who formed the band in 2005, I think, um, already had an idea what Defiant should now sound like. And we pretty much in agreement since, I think, since day one, you know. I mean, two of us play now together like almost, I'll say, 9 years. So we pretty much from day one knew what we want from Defiant, you know. So we're pretty much like an old couple, you know.
All right. Defiant has evolved from melodic death metal into a darker, more blackened death style. How do you see this evolution?
Uh, Natural, very, very natural. I think the first sound of the first album was pretty much a compromise, since the first lineup was kind of like musically all over the place. The drummer was listening to punk, the guitarist and vocalist listened to more like a Chernobyl Bottom, more like back in the day when the chicks were crazy about Alexei Lahilo, so he wanted to do that. Chris wanted death metal from day one, pretty much, but so that sound was pretty much like a compromise to for the lineup to stay stable, So the first album was more like let's just stay together and we will do something else after this one. So of course the first lineup after the first album dissolved. So Chris had more say, in the sound. But I think evolution wise, I think since since the second album was pretty much a reflection of about who was in the band. Chris is the leader of the band, but he leaves a lot of room for us to do our stuff. Since I joined Defiant, I never wanted to emulate any other vocalist. I don't want to do me and just work on my voice, and my lyrics. So there was no like you have to do this, you have to write about this, and you know the basic of the fight is still there, but I think every member who was in the band had their leisure to do whatever they wanted. On Vanguards of Misrule EP, we have a bass player who played on fretless bass, and we just told him, listen, if you want to do uh, bass lines like Atheist or Death on Sound Perseverance, go for it, and he did that. So Vanguard has a fretless base because we had a member who does that. So it's evolution by human nature, I think. So it to me it fits. Every band member has the freedom to express himself. We're not telling no one to do this or to do that. So it works. It should be natural.
Perfect. Um, you write lyrics. What inspires you
Mhm.
the most when you are creating?
Well, the last 10 years are mostly documentaries, are mostly books on a lot of, I'll say, deep subjects, on human nature, on, like, for example, on the REP, Vanguards of Misrule, there's a track called Explosion of the Triumphant Beasts, which is actually a book from Giuliano Bruno, who is a mm, they say that he's an occultist, a religious pantheist, or whatever. But he was a rebel. He was a rebel. He was studying about astrology way before. I mean, way before Galileo Galilei. He was like right after Nikola Copernic. So I was researching him, and I stumbled upon the title of that book, it was like, okay, this sounds like something. This is growing into something, and it was very natural to write actually a song about him because, I mean, yeah, I think mostly rebels or people who went against the grain kind of inspires you in a way. I mean, the band is called Defiant, so it goes both ways, you know. So, but yeah, mostly taboo subjects, some hard subjects that not a lot of bands tend to write about. You know, we're never gonna write about, you know, I don't know, war or this or that because, you know, Marduk and Saddam did that. So I see very little reason to rehash that and even attempt to write that. Even like one of my favorite persons, I mean, whoever, you know, Googles us, they will see I have like t-shirt from Vlad Dracula, right? But I will never attempt to write about him because Marduk did that. So why even attempt to rehash it? I'll rather write something that not a lot of bands tend to write about, you know, especially when you have like 500,000 metal bands, you know, you have to find a subject, a title that, you know, fans will think, hey, this is new, you know. So I mean, that's one of my criteria when I think about the title or whatever. I immediately Google it on Metal Archives to see if any other band did that. And if I see nobody, there's no title ever of a metal band like this, I'm like, yes, we're moving forward, you know. So I see very little I don't know logic to repeat someone else's work or someone else's topic or someone else's I'll not say style, but you know, you have so many bands and there's so many bands that sound like I don't know, Behemoth, Deicide, or something like that, or even Dissection. And I was like, yeah, this sounds good, but this sounds like a band that played the same shit 20 years ago. So I know I sound very cruel, but that's the reality of it. You know, there's some bands that do tributes, and that's fine. But metal should be something new. Metal should be always be something exciting and not follow any kind of rules or you know. So
Got it. What does Mammon Mantra? You had guest musicians like Tony Dolan from Venom Inc. How that collaboration
yes.
come about?
Well, I met him 2019 at Balkan. I went as a journalist. I also sporadically sometimes do as a journalist and interviewer, review albums. That's why I talk so much shit about this genre. It goes with the you know with the road. I met him in 2018. I interviewed him along with Tom Warrior from Celtic Frost and Triptychon, and John Hedlund from Unleashed. So anybody who knew Tony Dolan, if you speak to him, you're gonna speak to him for the next 2 hours because guy loves to talk. But he is a darling. He is a very friendly person, and it was a joy to meet him. So the interview lasted around an hour, and we talked for another hour, I think. He couldn't stop talking seriously, but he was a great guy, and we went through a lot of topics, you know, and one of the topics was that he was asked by some bands from, I think it was South America or something like that, some underground bands, I think, to be a guest vocalist on their albums and all of that, but they asked him to, you know, scream or growl, whatever, and he bluntly said, like, I don't do that, you know, I'm too old to actually learn this shit, you know, so, and I just basically asked him if he wanted to do his kind of vocals on our album, and, you know, he said yes. So I sent him the song, which is Lord of the Opening. He loved it, and like in a week he done his vocals, and I think and 15-year-old me will be very happy to know this, you know, since I'm still a big fan of Venom and Venom Inc, you know, and a big fan of Primeval albums or actually the his era during Venom, and yeah, he's a cool guy, and we still talk. So it's one of those meteor idols, so it was cool. And it in a way it's an honor to have him. Actually, even to think that one of your, I'll say, heroes are singing your lyrics is beyond cool. So
Yes. I almost skipped one question. I was checking here.
okay.
Insurrection Icon marked your first album with Defiant. What do you remember the most about recording it?
A lot of stress, a lot of stress, and a lot of beers because we were in Czech Republic, and every beer you found in Czech Republic, it's awesome and very cheap, which is a good and a bad thing as well because we have maybe 3 days to record an album, and that was very stressful. And that was very stressful. And yeah, besides that, we had fun. We had fun because Honza Kapak, our producer, and he was the owner of his studio, Hell Sound, I think. And he recorded a lot of great bands. The Stone, he even mixed and played drums on Nargorod's album, which is called When Birds Killed Mayhem, which is for us was like it's the same place, dude. It was that was very strange but very fun. And Jose is a great guy, but yeah, we had very little time to actually improvise or do a revision, especially when you do vocals. Yeah, I think I screamed for like 6 hours straight to do the vocals, and that's not the most um, best environments to do the vocals, because this an organ. It's not like an instrument. You have just you change strings and you're good as new. You have to rest. You have to, you know, drink a lot of tea and stuff like that. So yeah, actually, to be perfectly honest, if I can, I will change like 35% of the vocals on Icon, definitely, because if you compare this to Mammon Mantra, which we had like time for revisions and every detail was structured, so you had time on post production to revise some vocals and change this or add that or remove that. On Icon was very much like next song, next song, next song, next song. So it had very little time to think about it. You just go with it, and I'm happy with the album, despite the circumstances. But yeah, I always see some moments like, ugh, that's not the best moment, for the vocals or whatever, So, but I'm still happy with it. So yeah, a baptism by fire, pretty much.
And what does Mammon Mantra represent for you personally compared to earlier releases?
That's a lot. Man Mantra as a concept, I had in my mind even during Rainkaos days. So that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time to think about it because Man Mantra was, I mean, to go through the meaning of Mammon Mantra. Mammon is, if you read the Dictionary of Demons or Dictionnaire Infernale in French, was the demon or god of money. Actually, the term money what actually came from his name, Mammon, money. So he was the god of greed, and that was something that when you're like 15 years old and you're discovering how the banks work or how the world works, how wars are orchestrated, how politicians are orchestrated, how the music business is orchestrated as well. You kind of see the patterns, and those patterns are very disturbing. So that concept was with me for a good, I'll say, a good decade. And I was just waiting for the right time to present Chris the concept, and he was, he was happy with it. I think Man Mantra is the closest thing to a concept album, but not like a King Diamond album that every song is a chapter in the book, but every song is kind of interconnected, even the intro, Ipse Venit actually means his time has come. or Dajal's icon. Dajjal is like the demon of the desert, and he kind of announces the new god, and his time actually comes when there's famine, there's wars, and there is, a lot of strange stuff happening. And I remember writing Dajjal during COVID, which is, yeah, yeah. And of course, when I wrote Mammon as a concept, I mean, the world was fucked up. And when we released the album this year, the world is even more fucked up. It's getting more fucked up as we speak. So I don't think that this is one of those albums that's gonna age a lot, because you can view the album from a occultist point of view, from a uh, society point of view, or whatever. I think it talks about us in a way, you know, because like they say in the Bible, you can't serve God and Mammon at the same time. But we see, especially in America, when you see the pastors and the politicians and the Republicans, and I think it's very up to date, the concept. I think in a way that it was scary because we had we planned recording the album in something like 2021 or 2022 when COVID started. So we put it on a back burner, so we had a time to reflect how the album sounds, because it was still like in a demo phase, but the lyrics were done. And I remember when Chris and I was revisiting the album to record it, I was like, this is scary. Like you're almost like this is still I'm when I was researching the lyrics and all of that, like this is some scary shit. I'm a bit scared of this album, because it's even more up to date than it was like 5 years ago. So yeah, it was very, very different recording after Insurrection Icon. Actually, Vanguards EP was recorded as I will say, rest from Mammon, because Mammon was so planned, so rehearsed. Every layer was planned out. While Vanguards of Misrule EP was pretty much like, let's see what happens. And we always talked about doing EP, doing a bit of like a uh, less, I'll say, less paperwork, less planning, less funding ourselves. So, and less pressure as well. Everybody can record, 5 tracks and plus one cover, and here you go. So less expectations. So when you do an album, of course, you have to plan out and deal with the labels, which is another pain in the ass. Which, even today, the music business today is dreadful, you know, especially for us who just want to play our shit. Now you have to deal with business, which is like bane of all music, I think.
Right.
And still, I think Mammon Mantra is still actually connected to the music business as well, especially when you have to deal with money and all that shit, which, kills the spirit of it, I think.
Okay. What has been your more memorable concert outside Croatia?
I will say 89% of gigs that we did in Romania, because anybody who asks me that question, I'll say Romania is almost like our Europeans version of South America. If you're good, you can be a band that lasts 20 years, 2 years, 2 days, just go out of the garage, whatever. If you're good, they're gonna love you. You know, they're gonna put their hearts, they're gonna headbang you, they're gonna mosh pit for you, they're gonna do everything for you. So, and they're very friendly. They're very friendly. Their English is not that good, but besides that, they're a great audience to have them. So basically, we are a lot. We 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 love playing there. And Serbia as well, and Hungary actually surprised me. The last gig we did was in Hungary, like the last weekend. so that was cool too in pitch. But yeah, Romania is a place to be, especially if they like you, they're gonna go crazy.
Awesome. If you could collaborate with any musician or band, past or present, who will be and why?
Oh boy, I don't know, David Bowie maybe if we can resurrect him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be very cool. Uh, but I don't know. I actually already have a wish list of musicians that we want to guest on the next album. So it's nothing crazy, but there are some vocalists that I really like, and I'm planning to ask them. And I think some bands, actually some people are gonna get a surprise, and of course it's super early, but I have them in mind, you know. So we'll see. I mean, if I can ask any person, live person, to be a guest on our album, is definitely Daniel Rostén from Marduk and Funeral Mist. I think he's my number one inspiration for vocals because he uses his voice almost as a weapon. You know, every track he does, or was it Marduk or Funeral Mist, he does it differently. But again, if I ask him to do guest vocals on us, I'll probably tell him like do the whole album because you're so much better than me, you know. So yeah, he will be my bucket list, but I know that's not gonna happen ever. So I pretty much scaled down, and but these guys I have in mind are also very, very great, you know. But time will tell, you know. So
Yes. And what can fans expect for next from Defiant in 2025 and beyond?
we're gonna change the set list a bit and add some other changes in the band, about the band, and yeah, we're gonna promote Mammon Mantra during the whole next year. We're not gonna stop with this because this the album I personally always wanted to record. You know, it's I can stand behind this album by every second of it. There is no, I'll say, place in the album that will say, oh, maybe we could have re-recorded it or whatever. No, I'm happy with every second of the album, so we're gonna push this album as much as we can till the wheels fall off, and a mile more. So yeah, we're gonna promote this one a lot. So there will be more gigs, more videos. We're just in a process of mixing a new video for the album, and we'll probably do one more. So we're not done with it. Especially now we're gonna have one more gig in Zagreb, and we're gonna take a little break during the holidays, and next year January we're gonna continue.
Awesome. I have a last question. What
Yes.
book or movie or non-metal artist would you suggest to Metal Detector fans?
Book or movie?
Yeah. Or song, artist, non-metal.
On movies, I will recommend Angel Heart. That's an old movie with Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro, filmed in the 80s. It's one of those few movies that combine detective neo-noir with horror. It's very underrated movie. Uh, music, I would recommend Selbst, which is from Venezuela, and any book from Giuliano Bruno, I think, because he was very ahead of his time, and uh, his style of writing is very, for a religious person, his writing is very much I don't give a fuck style. So it's very cool to write. It's very cool to read something from uh, middle century and just shitting on every stupid people like. So yeah, those three things that come in mind. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much for
Thank
participating
you.
in this interview. It was really nice to have you with us today. I hope you can come to the US. Well, we'd like to hear you and to see you one of your shows.
Yeah.
So yeah, wish you the best.
Well, if they pay us, that'll be cool. Yeah. Because
Of course.
visas and shit and costumes, and all that. So yeah, that's the reality of the scene. But yeah, we'll see. I'm game for it if
Yes.
the opportunity arises. So yeah.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.